Hey, football fans, the Big D is back, and yeah, it might be March Madness, but that doesn't mean it's all on the hold order yet. We're going to the grass tonight on the Big D podcast. Before I bring in George, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page where you can look at my bracket and see how well my picks are doing. Hopefully, my bracket is not in tatters by this time tomorrow night. Also, check out the Big D podcast or the audio gurus, Spotify, and Apple. So, join me to discuss everything football, fantasy football, and Dolphins and Jags, High Point Sports content creator George Reed. So, George, free agency, first wave of free agency, it seemed like a bunch of guys got paid.
Yeah, a bunch of guys did. Huge contracts being dished out. Miami Dolphins had two of the top three players signed big deals, Robert Hunt and Christian Wilkins. They were number two and number three, respectively. And then big Kirk Cousins, man. All that guy does is get paid. Like, I don't know what he's paying his agent, but man, that agent is way underpaid because that guy has been paid almost $500 million throughout and that's guaranteed money throughout his NFL career. And I mean, the guy has done nothing. If you think about it, like he's a good quarterback, but he's done nothing, and he's won like one playoff game in his career, and he's been paid like a top quarterback every single year that he's been away from Washington. Like it's absolutely insane. I'm happy for him. I think he's got the best sports agent in the world, and that got the agent. I don't care how much he's getting paid. He's underpaid.
I'll tell you what, I think Kirk Cousins will end up, has gotten or will end up with more career earnings than Tom Brady.
Oh yeah, probably, and that's that's probably by design. Like there's going to be a lot of players that will end up with more money than Tom Brady because he took so many team friendly deals with New England to where he would take a pay cut just so they could use that money to turn around and bring in somebody else so they could stay in their championship dynasty mode. So yeah, that absolutely would not surprise me if Cousins earned more money than Tom Brady playing in the NFL. It's just Kirk Cousins ain't giving a hometown discount. He's not taking 10% off. He's not giving any discount double checks. He's just getting paid, and that's all he cares about.
Well, obviously, Kirk Cousins, I mean, what, 35, 36 coming off a torn ACL, but obviously everybody seemingly wanted to sign a massive deal with the Falcons. How do
Yep.
you think Kirk Cousins does in Atlanta? Because, I mean, yes, Zach Robinson's a really well-respected coordinator, same offense that he ran with Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. A lot of very good weapons, but there's one difference to me. Kevin O'Connell's an offensive genius, and Raheem Moore's
Not so
defense.
much. Yeah, yeah. Raheem Morris is definitely a more defensive focused coach. Um, I mean, I think the expectations for Kirk Cousins in Atlanta are really win the division. I think those are the a realistic expectation, especially if you look at that division. Like the Saints are a huge question mark. Like we're not really sure what's going on there. They're always, you know, $78 million over the cap when free agency starts, and somehow they always manage to get under the cap and still manage to sign a player or two without losing a whole bunch of their team. They kick that can down the road like nobody's business. The Carolina Panthers, listen, they're rebuilding, right? Like they've added some nice pieces. They got Deontay Johnson. They did get Robert Hunt. They signed another guard in free agency. Like they're paying like $200 million to their two guards over the life of their contracts. Like they got a rookie. Well, not a rookie now. He'll be a sophomore quarterback this year. They got no first round pick this year. They're going to be struggling for this year again. But you know they're on the come up. They're going through a rebuilding mode, and then there's Tampa. And Tampa won the division last year, and they basically said, "We're not gonna get better. We're just gonna run it back." And that's exactly what Tampa is doing. They brought Mike Evans back. They brought Baker Mayfield back. They brought back I think it was
When
Winfield. Yeah, they had the tag team where they gave him a new contract. Like they're literally just running back the same team that they had. And they're not have no interest in getting any better. They just want to bring back the same players they had last year. So the expectations for Kirk Cousins in Atlanta going in with Drake London, who's only 22, Kyle Pitts, I think he's like 23, maybe he's 22, Bijan Robinson, sophomore year, like yeah, win the division. The division is honestly there for the taking for Atlanta. So I think those are reasonable expectations year one with Kirk Cousins. Go out and win that division.
I think the NFC South's quite possibly the luckiest division in football. I mean, nobody would have predicted Tampa winning with Baker Mayfield, but Atlanta's got a lot of what Minnesota possess. Very good. I don't know if he's not Justin Jefferson, but Drake London, good young receiver. Kyle Pitts, if he could ever live up to being the number 4 pick. Bijan, if and when somebody figures out how to use him properly.
Well, and I think they will this year. Like I think Raheem Morris will use the players that he has to their strength. I know he's more of a defensive minded guy, which I'm okay with because that means he's going to allow somebody else to run the offense. So I think it'll be better for the skill position, especially in fantasy. I think the skill position players in Atlanta will be a lot better this year than what they were last year. Didn't Atlanta did they sign Gabriel Davis as well?
No, no, no. I'll give you a hint.
Oh,
I'll give
that's
you
the
my
Jaguars. I'm
team.
sorry.
My
He
team.
went to Jaguars. That's right. That's right. They signed somebody. Darnell Mooney. That's who they signed. So they brought in Darnell Mooney as well. So
And
a field stretcher.
I think Atlanta also got one of the receivers from Arizona. They traded Desmond Ritter for who was the slot
Uh,
guy.
it was Moore. Uh, Rondell Moore, I think it was. Yeah. So Darnell Mooney, he signed with them 3 years, $39 million. They brought in Ray McLeod from the 49ers, 1 year, $2.5 million deal. That's nothing. But they traded for what's his name? You just mentioned him,
Rondell Moore.
Rondell Moore. Yeah, they traded Ritter for Rondell Moore.
I mean, plus one of the other underrated aspects in the Falcons got a good offensive line, and as New
Yep.
York Jet fans will find out, about 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers coming off a torn Achilles. You don't want your quarterback running around too much. So
Well, the one good thing is with Kirk Cousins, like he's not running around much.
that would
I
help.
got yeah, this is true. I got into a debate with a friend of mine about Kirk Cousins. He's like, didn't Kirk Cousins, he's got to come back from his Achilles tear or his Achilles injury. And I was like, I'm not worried about Kirk Cousins' Achilles injury. He's not a running quarterback. Like he's literally not gonna run anywhere. So I'm not worried about it. He's like, well, wasn't the injury on his planting foot? And I'm like, yes, the injury was on his planting foot. I said, but that won't affect his throwing mechanics, or in theory, it should not affect his throwing mechanics because he's not cutting. He's not he's not putting it in the ground and cutting one way or another, trying to make cuts with that foot. That will affect the Achilles, not so much dropping back and throwing the ball off of a plant foot. And then I watched an interview with Stephania Bell, and she basically said the same thing, that she has no worries of Kirk Cousins being able to plant the foot and throw the ball as well. So in theory, like if you're worried about Kirk Cousins and you're worried about the injury he has, from what I'm hearing from people around the NFL, and I talked with Dr. Jesse Morse, who's a foot specialist. The interview with Stephania Bell, like they're not worried about that injury with Kirk Cousins because he's not a running quarterback. If it was Lamar Jackson, I would be worried about it. Even Aaron Rodgers, I would be worried about it because Aaron Rodgers, while you don't think of him as a traditional mobile quarterback, he does like to take off with the ball. He likes to run with the ball. He likes to roll out and throw it on the run. Like all of that stuff with his Achilles is going to be affected, but not so much Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is a statue back there. He's like Ryan. He's Matt Ryan 2.0. He's just going to drop back and throw the ball. He's Peyton Manning back there with minus the Omaha and the big forehead. Like he's not taking off to sprint or anything like that. That's just not his game at all.
And if you're Kirk Cousins, maybe you're thinking, I'll take some weather plus. The road games, a lot better than going to Chicago and Green Bay in December and January.
Yeah,
I'll take Charlotte, Tampa, and New Orleans.
and New Orleans is a dome, so you don't have to worry about the elements there. You don't have to worry about the elements in Atlanta. Tampa is here in Florida, so you don't have to really worry about the cold there. Really, the only place you worry about the cold really is Carolina, and like the team is not a good team, so the elements aren't going to be that bad anyway. Like it might get a little bit cold, but you're not talking Kansas City playoff third lowest temperature at kickoff in NFL history type weather. Like you're never going to get that in Carolina. It might drop down to like 40, 30, but you're never going to see like negative numbers and a small chance you'll see snow in Carolina. So yeah, no, the weather for the games for his road games, at least within the division, are great. They're phenomenal.
Yeah, and Dolphin fans are still going off on that wild card game.
They should have in with like I had no problem with them playing that game. I really didn't. Uh, I liked the cold games. I think playing in the cold weather is a part of football, but using 2020 hindsight, they probably should have either moved the game to a stadium that had a dome or postponed it just because so many I think there was like 10 or 15 people who've had to have like their extremities amputated from frostbite from attending that game. Like it was that cold and people are literally getting their body parts cut off because they went to that game and weren't actually prepared for how cold it truly was. So I 2020, yeah, they probably should have postponed it or played it in another stadium, moved it. But at the time, play the game. It's football. It's cold. Get over it.
Yeah, and I mean we saw what happened the next day when the Steelers and Bills couldn't play in Buffalo
Yep.
because the wind it was 90-mile-an-hour wind.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, there's some elements you could play and there's some you can't. I give Bills fans a whole bunch of hard time just because they have to have so many of their games moved. But like that's just me being a Dolphins fan, trying to stick it to the Buffalo fans. Like, yeah, I get, if it's 90 to 90 mile per hour winds, yeah, you're probably not wanting to play football in that. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be fun. It's going to end up looking like the Bills and the Patriots game where the Patriots threw the ball 4 times the entire game. Like that was just ridiculous.
Well, obviously there were more free agency moves than Kirk Cousins. I mean, it seemed like a lot of
Yep.
running backs were paid. Which running back deal did you like, or deals did you like the most?
So there's a couple of running backs that deals that happened that I actually like. My favorite one, believe it or not, is Derrick Henry. Derrick
I'm,
Henry, two
I,
years, 60. Yeah, I like it. 2 years, $16
I
million
must say,
dollars
I
goes.
can't believe Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson are on the same team.
Whew, I mean, that's crazy, right? If imagine being a linebacker and you're looking over the defensive front and you're looking past the offensive line and you see Lamar Jackson, who is probably the best pure running back in the NFL. And right next to him is this 6'3", 250-pound cyborg named Derrick Henry. Like, which one are you trying to stop? Because you can't stop them both. You're just gonna have to pick one. And so I really do like that signing for the Ravens. One thing that Baltimore has uh, tra- not traditionally done, but they started to do it last year, is they've tried to cut back on the amount of designed runs that Lamar Jackson has. So they didn't cut back on the total amount of times that he scrambled with the ball or was standing in the pocket collapsed, he steps up and then takes off. That they didn't cut back on. But what they did cut back on was calling a designed run for Lamar Jackson, especially down in the red zone. And I think in the red zone last year, I think they only had 5 designed runs for Lamar Jackson the entire year, which is down from 12 the previous year. So they have really tried to not give him the have him carry the ball in the red zone because it makes sense. Everything is it's a shortened field. Everything is so congested. Like there's a better opportunity for him to take a hard hit because they got bigger bodies on the field than what they do in between the 20s. So what can you go out and do to limit even further the amount of touches that your franchise quarterback takes in the red zone? Well, last year you gave it to Gus Edwards, who went out. I think he had like 12 touchdowns or 16 touchdowns or something like that. That was great. That was Gus Edwards, but that was the only skill he had. Now they got a guy back there that's 6'3", 250 pounds who can run the ball up and down the field on you. And when he gets down close, you're not stopping him. So it's a phenomenal move. I love the pairing there in Baltimore with Derrick Henry. I was really happy to see Derrick Henry sign there. The other one that I really do like is DeAndre Swift with the Bears. And excuse me, I gotta get a sip of water. The reason I like that signing, excuse me, is they're bringing in a rookie quarterback. We know that because they traded Justin Fields, and a pass catching back is going to be key for Caleb Williams, and that's exactly what DeAndre Swift does.
Uh, I really like the Minnesota Vikings getting Aaron Jones. I mean, yeah, Green Bay. I felt like the Green Bay Packers wanted to be more physical and get Josh Jacobs, and but Aaron Jones has got plenty of gas left in the tank, and we saw in
Yep.
the playoffs he gave Dallas fits, and
So I wish Aaron Jones would have signed with Dallas
I wish
just
too.
because he owns them. Like he always goes out and just absolutely crushes the Cowboys. Every time they play, Aaron Jones just goes crazy on them. Um, so him going to play for them would have been spectacular. That was a surprise move. Like I don't think anybody had Josh Jacobs to the Packers on their bingo card. So for the Packers to go out and sign him to 4 years, $48 million, like that's a huge contract. And then Aaron Jones, you're sitting there looking at the Green Bay like you got Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones. This ain't gonna work. And so they cut him, like you said, and he went to a 1 year deal with the Vikings. It's a great deal for Aaron Jones. It's a good deal for the Vikings. And if you look at Aaron Jones' skill set, it reminds me a lot of Delvin Cook. He's able to catch the ball out the backfield. He's able to run between the tackles. He can bounce it outside. He's good in pass protection. So I for fantasy purposes, I expect to see almost the same production you would have gotten from Dalvin Cook a couple of years ago back there from Aaron Jones. The one thing I am concerned with is his age. He's 29 years old. We all know about that cliff that's coming up for NFL running backs when they hit that age 30. They typically tend to start falling off at that point. But for now, Aaron Jones to the Vikings on that 1 year deal, like, yeah, it makes sense because he's got the same skill set as Devin Cook. And they were hoping that Alexander Madison had the same chops that Cook had, and that just did not work out.
And now it's funny. Alexander Madison's in Las Vegas.
Yeah, they literally could have done a 3-team trade.
A three-team trade of tailbacks.
Yep. Yep. Green Bay trades Aaron Jones to the Vikings. The Vikings trades Madison to the Raiders, and the Raiders send Josh Jacobs to Green Bay. We could have just saved a whole lot of trouble and just done a three-team trade. But I don't really care about Alexander Madison in Vegas. I think he's signed there as a backup. I don't expect very much from him going forward. I think he had an opportunity in Minnesota and it just didn't work out. And I don't. If you're talking fantasy, I'm not even. I wouldn't even bother drafting him, to be honest.
I would
I'm
be.
all.
I would, the only running back I'm probably drafting in Vegas, if I'm drafting one, is Samir White.
Yep. I was about to say the only running back there worth drafting is Zamir White. That big corn fed guy. Whoo! You see the interview with him when he was talking about his going back to the farm and training on his farm. It was a heck of an interview. And the whole time, the only thing I can imagine and think of is his biceps. His biceps are the size of my head. They were just freaking ginormous. They were huge. It's like, what did you eat while you were out there? Because you weren't that big last year.
He didn't get in on. He didn't get in on. He didn't get those biceps by doing the shake weight.
No, he did not. So, but it was an interesting interview. He talked about the difference of growing up in the country, being raised on the farm versus playing in Las Vegas. He's like, Vegas is fun, but the farm is home. And he was talking about how his non-traditional workout was he was curling hay barrels and just, doing all types of stuff on the farm to as his workout and going on hikes on the farm and running like miles and miles. I think he said it was like 8 or 9 miles every morning, like something ridiculous.
Well, on the wide receivers, well, there were a couple interesting deals. Calvin Ridley signing a huge deal with the Titans. Gabriel Davis signed a deal with my Jaguars. Jerry Judy trading and then signing a deal with the Cleveland Browns. Curran Samuels signed with the Buffalo Bills. Mooney with the Falcons. Trying to think of other moves. Deontay Johnson going from Pittsburgh to Carolina.
Mike Williams signing with the Jets.
Keenan Allen ended up with the Bears.
Chicago. The Bears. Yeah. So it was. Let me. What did you think about this wide receiver class coming into this year? Like the free agent pool. Did you think it was a very good one? Because I don't think it turned out to be all that great.
Be honest, I thought T. Higgins was the only number one receiver available.
So I had two number one receivers available. That was T. Higgins and Michael Pittman. I'm a huge Michael Pittman guy. I like his game. I like his route running ability. I like everything about Michael Pittman. And him re-signing with the Colts on a 3-year deal for $70 million was just a chef's kiss for both the player and for the team. But coming into this year, like you had T. Higgins, Mike Evans, Michael Pittman as your top three, and all three of those they were either franchise tagged at first or they re-signed with their team, and so it became a very lackluster top end wide receiver class for the free agents at least, with like Calvin Ridley, Odell Beckham, Marquise Brown, Darnell Mooney, Gabriel Davis, Tyler Boyd, like Michael Gallup, Curtis Samuel, like those were like the headliners now of this class, and none of them are particularly number one receivers, and 3/4 of them aren't even a number two receiver. They're more like number three receivers, to be honest. So I was a little disappointed with the class, but man, the amount of players in this class that traded teams, or the amount of wide receivers total that were traded or re-signed elsewhere, it was just shocking. Like I still don't understand why the Titans gave Calvin Ridley $92 million. Like Listen, you're the Jacksonville guy, right? What did you see on the field last year from Calvin Ridley that warranted $92 million?
Honestly, I thought Calvin Ridley had his play was a little bit up and down. I mean, it seemed like every big play he had, he was either interfered with or dropped the pass. I mean,
Yep,
like Calvin Ridley, like most wide receivers, unless you named Jamal Chase, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, was hit or miss last year. I don't
yep.
know.
And even then, like Justin Jefferson last year was injured, so he missed some time. And
Yeah.
then Jamar Chase was dealing with Jake Browning at quarterback. Like, how confident were you even starting Jamar Chase in your fantasy league? I know there's a couple leagues I have him in that I was just like, listen, he's Jamar Chase. I'm putting him on the field, but I'm not expecting a huge game from him. Now he came through on a couple of those times, and some of those times he didn't really put up what you were expecting. But I mean, he was dealing with Jake Browning at quarterback, not Joe Burrow. But yeah, I was shocked by the amount of money that Calvin Ridley got. Um, I love the Marquise Brown signing with the Kansas City Chiefs.
I can
That
I
that,
can't
that I,
believe I can't believe the Chiefs got him because guess what the Chiefs have lacked? A consistent speed receiver since Tyreek Hill went for greener pastures with your Dolphins.
yep. Well, they've had the speed receiver. They've had Miko Hardman. He was. Remember when Tyreek Hill was under investigation and they spent that second round pick on Marquis Holden
Hardman.
Markel Hardman, excuse me. Jeez, I can't speak. Like they spent the second round pick on him. Like they were expecting him to be. People were saying, "Oh, he's the Tyreek Hill replacement. He's gonna take that Tyreek Hill role." Like first off, Tyreek Hill is one of one. There is nobody that's the next Tyreek Hill. Okay, that person really does not exist. It's like saying the next Tom Brady. Like Patrick Mahomes is great. He's not the next Tom Brady. There's only one Tom Brady. Just like when he's all said and done, we'll be saying, "Oh, he's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes." No, he's not. There's only one Patrick Mahomes. So let's not go with the next Tyreek Hill or whoever. But they've had Miko Hardman, and he was supposed to be their speed guy, their deep guy, and all that. It just didn't work out. Mark Hardman I'm just gonna call him Hardman. Uh, he just wasn't very good, is what the problem was. So they've had the speed guy, but they just didn't have a good speed guy. Now that's why they brought MVS back. They went out and they got Kadarius Toney. Like they've been looking for that wide receiver. Now, if you look at what they've got, they hit. I believe it was a hit for Rushy Rice. Like he was a very good rookie wide receiver for them. But if you look at his average depth of reception, it's only like 4.5, 5 yards or something like that. Like it's not very far downfield. And then if you look at Hollywood Brown, like his average depth of reception is like 12 yards downfield. So you're talking about two guys now who are really going to complement each other. If you bring back what's his name, Travis Kelsey, like he's their seam guy, he's their down the middle guy. He's their basically do everything from the tight end position. Like they've upgraded their wide receiver core, even though they let a couple of guys go. They've actually gotten better at the wide receiver position by bringing in Hollywood Brown. So I love that signing for the Chiefs. I think Hollywood Brown is going to be a sneaky good player this year.
I can't believe the Chiefs not only kept Chris Jones but added Hollywood Brown. Like I'm not saying the NFL gave the Chiefs extra money, but I thought Chris Jones was hostile the Waco. Waco.
well,
Apparently not.
well, we all know the cap is fake. It's not fake.
We
But
just
with the
have
Kansas,
to 92 million over the cap every year and get under by March 15th or whatever day it is.
yeah. So it can be the cap is fungible. Stuff can be moved down the road, and that's what a lot of teams are doing. My Dolphins are doing that right now. They're restructuring contracts and pushing money down the road. and they have dead years on the contract. So there's like, for example, Tyreek Hill, he's going to count like 6 or 7 million against the cap after his contract expires for like 2 seasons. So there's ways to maneuver the cap and flex the cap. It's just a matter of, do you want to push dead money down the road? And if you're a team that's looking to win, and a team that is, obviously the Chiefs are Super Bowl contenders because of the defending champs, yeah, like push it down the road. Who cares? Let's go try to get our another Super Bowl. Let's try to win 3 in a row. Like, push it down the road. Who cares? Like, we'll deal with it when we have to deal with it. As long as we got Patrick Mahomes, we're fine. We can maneuver everything else and bring in players. So, and they signed him to a $7 million deal. That's not even a lot of money.
Yeah, I think it was one. I think Hollywood signed 1 year, 6 million.
One year, 7 million.
You better like barbecue in Kansas City.
Listen, if it means playing with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs and having being coached by Andy Reid and having the opportunity to play, you're not playing for playoffs with the Chiefs. No, you're playing for Super Bowls. Like, yeah, like he'll eat all the dang barbecue you could feed him. He don't care.
Plus, here's one other thing you look at. This is quite. I mean, some of these teams like the Giants haven't really added a wide receiver. No, I don't know what the Patriots are doing. Maybe the Patriots are going to wait for the best receiver draft of my lifetime.
The Patriots are taking a quarterback. I don't think they're taking a running back or a wide receiver. I think they're taking a quarterback this year. At least they need to. They'd be smart to.
Yeah, but New
You got
England's got no wide receiver. Like New England's best receiver is Kendrick Bourne is New England's best receiver.
That's okay. Who's their best quarterback? You can always find you can listen. They New England has what, the number 3 overall pick, right? Yeah, number 3. So get your quarterback. You get the quarterback, and then you worry about wide receiver later. Like, the New England is not being built to win right now. They're going to get ready to go through a huge rebuilding process. That's why they traded away Mac Jones. Like, they're scrapping everything and they're going to try to rebuild and get the quarterback. That's the key piece. Like, if it's your team is a chessboard, the quarterback is your king. Get that first, and don't worry about getting a wide receiver. This draft is so deep with wide receivers. Like, you can get a wide receiver in the second round if you need one. Like, there's plenty of really talented wide receivers that are going to fall to you in the second round. There's not very many good quarterbacks that are going to fall to you in the second round. And if you're dead set on going at wide receiver at 3, trade back. Let a team move up, trade back, get some more assets because they have so many holes, and then take your one of the top tier wide receivers. You don't have to get Marvin Harrison. You don't even have to get Malik Neighbors. Like, you can get Romaduze, and he'll probably be just as good as Neighbors, and maybe even as good as Marvin Harrison. Like, those 3 guys are the 3 top wide receivers, and there's not a whole lot separating those 3. But you don't have to pay number 3 overall to get them. Like, you can trade back, get a couple more assets, and then take your wide receiver.
And I mean, in this draft there might be a team. I'm not going to say what team it is, but there might be a team with a whole bunch of purple looking for a quarterback, maybe from I don't know, Michigan.
No, there's there,
JJ McCarthy.
yeah, from Michigan. You mean Minnesota, right?
No, I'm saying
Oh,
Minnesota.
from
I think
okay, I got you. I got
JJ
you. I got you. Okay,
McCarthy.
no, JJ. Okay, JJ Carthy from Michigan. Okay, no, I thought you were saying. I for some reason the way it was worded, I thought you were talking. I knew you were talking about the Vikings, but then when you said from Michigan, I thought you were talking about the team was from Michigan. And I'm like,
No,
I'm sitting,
no,
I'm sitting here, I'm sitting here thinking the Lions aren't looking to trade up for a quarterback. They got Jared Goff. He's not the greatest, but he's sufficient. Like I'm like,
and plus,
it
and
confused
plus
me.
those teams have made 79 trades the last couple of drafts. Why would they make another one?
Oh, they will. Don't listen. Their coach Dan Campbell. He's not really playing NFL. He's playing Madden. Like he goes on Madden, he makes a trade, he sees if the computer accepts it, and if they do, he goes to the general manager. It's like, hey, why don't we try to make this trade? And then they do, and it's like it works out for him. It's phenomenal. But no, I
But,
agree. I agree. Minnesota, they got 11-23. Um, excuse me, and they with New England especially, like there's some rumors going around that the reason New England signed KJ Osborne to the contract that they gave him, it qualifies for a potential third round comp pick to the Vikings. So there's talks, and then people are pointing out that potentially because, and I don't think A is related to B. I don't believe the rumor, but they're saying that New England signed KJ Osborne to that deal to give Minnesota a third round comp pick next year, and now Minnesota's going to turn around and trade number 11, number 23, and a third rounder next year. Their third rounder, not the comp pick, but their third rounder to New England for number 3 overall. Like it's just a bunch of conspiracy theorists out there on Twitter that have been mentioned. I've seen a couple different people mention that actually, and it's just like, man, come on, that the two does not correlate. But if they do that, man, the NFL is gonna have to look into that because there's no way that should be allowed. But I don't believe that that's the reason why they signed KJ Osborne to the deal that they did.
I mean, everything with New England smells fishy.
It does. It
What
absolutely does.
I mean, Spygate, Deflategate. What is this going to be? Draftgate?
Draftgate. I like it. I like it.
I mean, we've seen the drafting movie with Kevin Costner. This is going to be Draftgate.
Yeah. So for the NFL draft, do you watch draft day the day of the draft?
I remember. No, I remember that movie because being a Jag fan, we were screwed in that trade.
Gave up your pick for 3 seconds. But no, every year on the day of the draft, when I get home from work, I put that movie on and I watch it. It's been a tradition for God 5-6 years now. I do it every year. Like I put on the movie, I watch the movie, and then I sit down and I enjoy the NFL draft for all the chaos that it provides.
Well, heading to our last segment, talk about time we talk your Dolphins because I mean, Robert Hunt signed a big deal with the Panthers. Christian Wilkins signed a big deal with the Raiders, but Miami has made moves, got under the cap. Obviously, Xavier Howard going, but did you guys brought in who was the corner for Washington? Kendall Fuller,
Kendall Fuller.
and then added some pieces on the offensive and defensive line.
So
To
yeah,
get better.
they're surprisingly they're making moves. So Miami didn't have a whole lot of cap space to maneuver with. Like when we first started, we were over the cap by about 27-28 million dollars. So for Miami to get to where they're at, they had to make some moves. And what they ended up doing is they cut a couple of players who weren't significant pieces at all. Like there were real low tier, minor supporting cast players. But what they did that was really big is they restructured the contract. So I already talked about with Tyreek Hill where he's getting paid for 2 years after he's no longer here. He's got 2 years on the Dolphins books that will count against their salary cap. Chubb did the same thing. Bradley Chubb, he restructured his contract. They reworked Teron Armstead's contract, and they reworked Jalen Ramsey's contract. So they've added a lot of money and a lot of dead years down the road to make it so we're able to sign some players this year. We've lost some players, like you mentioned, but we weren't ever going to bring those guys back. Like Robert Hunt, once his contract hit the stratosphere it was at 20 million a year, like there's no way the Dolphins were getting anywhere near that. They weren't going to touch that. Same thing with Christian Wilkins. The Dolphins last year they offered him a reworked contract, 18 million a year. He said no. He went out, bet on himself, and ended up getting like $27 million from the Raiders a year on average. So the Dolphins weren't going to match either one of those contracts. They weren't going to franchise tag either one of those two players. If they wanted to, they could have re-signed both those guys, honestly. Like they could easily have matched the contract that both of those two guys got, but in the long run, it would have done more damage than good. Because when you look at the team and the makeup of the team, we've got to re-sign Tua Tagovailoa. A lot of Dolphins fans don't want to hear this. That man's getting anywhere between 45 and 50 million a year.
Plus,
Yeah,
if Tua gets his deal, that actually helped the cap situation this year.
correct. It absolutely would. But Dolphins fans don't want to hear it. They don't think he's worth 45, 50 million a year. Guess what? That's the going rate for starting quarterbacks, especially decent starting quarterbacks. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Tua's great and he's the best quarterback in the league. And yeah, no, I'm not going to tell you that. He's very good at the skills that he has that helps Mike McDaniel run the offense he wants to run. He's those two fit each other perfectly. He's a perfect match for the scheme that Mike McDaniel wants to run. So what do good coordinators do? Or coaches do? They highlight your strengths and they try to cover your weaknesses. So Tua's perfect for our system. He's perfect for what the coach wants. They're going to give him 45, 50 million a year. Then you've got to resign Javon Holland, the safety. His contract's coming up. You've got to re-sign Jalen Phillips. His contract's coming up. Jalen Waddle, wide receiver. His contract's coming up. Like all of those guys' contracts are coming up within the next year or two. So we if you want to keep your core intact, you had to let Christian Wilkins walk. As much as it sucked and it stinks to draft a guy, then you coach the guy up and you get him to play at a very high level, and then he walks, and you have to let him walk. You have to. It sucks, but you have to let him walk because keeping him is not good. What's best for the future of the team, because it would really hamper you on signing all of those other guys. And then you looked at the players that we've signed this offseason. Jordan Poyer, phenomenal all-pro safety, lives in Miami. He signed for $2 million a year. Brought in Shaq Barrett to play inside linebacker. He'll be replacing Bradley Chubb until Bradley Chubb gets back, or Jalen Phillips. There's reports both of those guys actually might be good to start the year. I don't believe it, but they're because they got injured so late in the year last year. But you had to bring in at least one starting quality player there. They upgraded their tight end position with Jonnu Smith. Like last year, Jonnu Smith had nearly 600 receiving yards. He had 3 touchdowns. He had 50 receptions. Like those numbers are equal to or greater than what all the tight ends on Miami had last year. And that's just one player. Like I'm not saying Jonnu Smith is a great tight end, but he's a huge upgrade for what we had there last year. They brought in Jordan Brooks from Seattle, who I absolutely love. He's going to play Mike linebacker for us. He's an absolute dog. He's a tackling machine. Between him and David Long, we've upgraded our linebacker core the last 2 years significantly. I love the signing of Jordan Brooks. We re-signed Isaiah Wynn, our offensive guard, which is good. He looked really solid last year playing tackle while Teron Armstead was out, but he's more of a depth piece. But if we need him in a pinch, I'm glad to see him back. They signed Aaron Brewer to play center, so we have a true center now. Signed Kendall Fuller to replace Xavier Howard. Like Xavier Howard was on the back end of his career, and bringing in Kendall Fuller, I had him in the same tier as Xavier Howard, but Kendall Fuller's a much better tackler than Xavier Howard. Xavier Howard's a better ball hawk. He's going to get more interceptions, but uh, Kendall Fuller is just a much better tackler, and he's a very, very solid cover guy. So the moves that we have made have really balanced off what we've lost. So I'm thrilled with what the Dolphins have been able to do so far this offseason.
And this is all before the draft. And yes, free agency helps, but the draft is where GMs earn their money.
Yep. And
So
if at 21, and I've been saying it since the Senior Bowl, because I went to the Senior Bowl and got to watch this guy up close and in person. Uh, I don't know if they'll have to trade up and get in front of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh drafts at 20. But if I'm all in on JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson. He's a center. Um, he's an absolute beast of a man. He is the best center in this draft, and it's not remotely close. He showed up. He just dominated the Senior Bowl. Like nobody on one drills, team drills, 7-on-7, 11-on-11. Nobody, and I mean nobody, got past him. He was just like a stone wall out there, and he could play center and he could play guard. Personally, if they draft him, I would move Aaron Brewer, the center we drafted. I would move him to guard, who he could play guard as well, and I would put JPJ at center, and your line would be set. And I think you could start JPJ at center for the next 10, 15 years, and I see many first team All Pros in his future. That's how high I am on this kid. That's what I would do with our first round pick. Our second round pick, I would go for a wide receiver or a defensive tackle.
to be honest, Jackson JPJ from Oregon reminds me a lot of Travis Frederick coming out of Wisconsin. There were 3 or 4 programs that I trust were flying in the NFL. Notre Dame, Wisconsin, and now Oregon. There
Yep.
are so many great linemen from those schools. I mean, Joe Alt's going to be a top probably 10 to 12 pick.
I got Joe Alt going to Tennessee.
I do too.
Yep.
That's the first lineman off the board.
Yep. And deservedly so.
And plus, the Titans need linemen no matter how many wide receivers or for Will Levis, because I remember a couple games, the Dolphin game in particular, where defense were kicking the you know what out of him.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they beat the Dolphins that game.
Trust me. I know what the Titans did in Week 7 and 18, knocked us out of the playoffs, and I'm still mad about that game.
Yeah, listen, we gave up 14 points in the last 4 minutes. Never happened to a team that was up by 14.
If you gave up 14, you would have been in overtime. You gave up 15 because Grable went for 2, my friend.
Yeah, he went for 2. That's right. So us losing to them, it started a snowball of reaction because like we could have won that. If we won that game, we would have clinched the division in the first round of the playoffs because we clinched the division instead of going to Kansas City and playing in the Ice Bowl. We would have been home to Pittsburgh. Now, I'm not saying Miami would have beaten Pittsburgh, but I think our chances were a heck of a lot better to beat Pittsburgh than they were to go up into Kansas City in those freezing temperatures and try to beat the defending champs. Like I feel in my heart of hearts that we had a better chance playing at home in Miami against Pittsburgh than going to Kansas City and playing Kansas City. That's just how I feel. That's how I think.
I mean, maybe if Miami had its pass rushers, I mean, especially if Jalen Phillips and
Yeah.
Bradley Chubb were healthy. I mean, but playing to a negative 59 and negative 72 below zero is not going to win a lot of games.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
All right, George. So, what? 5 weeks until the NFL draft in Detroit. Maybe the Miami Dolphins can draft your guy, and you'll be flying. You'll be flying until September.
So I feel like the same way I feel about JPJ is the same way I felt about the offensive guard for Dallas, Martin. When Martin was in the draft, I wanted Miami to take him so bad, and Dallas took Zach Martin like 2 or 3 picks before us, if I'm not mistaken. And I felt I was so heartbroken. I was so heartbroken. Uh, I feel the same way with JPJ. I absolutely love the kid. I think he, like I said earlier, he's going to be an all pro. He's going to be able to be in the league 10, 15 years at center and just set it, forget it. And he's going to play at such a high level, which would be something I would love for my Dolphins. But I also know, I think in order for us to get him, we have to trade up and get ahead of Pittsburgh. Because I know if he's there and Pittsburgh's on the board at 20, he's going 1 pick before us.
I think Pittsburgh goes after a tackle.
I would like Pittsburgh to go after a tackle. I really, really would. Because that could leave us a center.
I think.
of
I,
course, of
I
course,
mean,
knowing I was going to say, of course, knowing our GM, uh, Powers Johnson will be on the board for the Dolphins at 21, and we'll pass him up for a defensive tackle. That's the life of a Miami Dolphin fan right there. The guy I want will be there, and we'll go to defensive tackle.
yeah, you go get Byron Murphy from Texas.
Yeah, that's what we'll end up with, which is fine because like in theory, okay, you drafted your Christian Wilkins replacement, so I get it. Okay, I get it, but you got a future All Pro center right there. Just take the center, build your offensive line, protect the guy you're getting ready to give $40 to $50 million a year to. Protect him, give him a center.
Yeah, at least the Jaguars got a center for Trevor and Mitch Morse.
Yep.
Just, all right, George. So thanks for hopping on. Hopefully, the Dolphins draft you a guy from Oregon, and maybe Miami will be swimming toward a playoff win this coming season.
I'm not going to hold my breath.